Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks presented by Polyscience. You are chopping it up with Chuck. I'm the editor in chief here with Cannabis and Tech today. We always bring you the great guests in the world of cannabis, hemp, the whole business side of the game. And today is no different. We have Ian Beckles. He is a former Tampa Bay Buccaneer. He is also a media and TV radio personality and a man who is known around town all over South Tampa. We have Ian Beckles. Ian, welcome to Cannabis Tech Talks.
Good to be here on this award-winning podcast. Good to see you.
Thank you, man. You know, when you win an award, you got to make sure that you mention that. Otherwise, people don't know.
Agreed.
So, Ian, I probably did not do justice to your bio, but would you mind just telling the audience just a little bit about your background, as your playing career, and then we'll start talking a little bit more about your advocacy for the plant and what you got going on right now.
Well, you did a great job. I'll get a little bit more in depth about me. I was born in Canada. My parents are West Indian. I got drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 1990 in the fifth round. Started in Tampa Bay for 7 years and ended up playing for the Philadelphia Eagles for 2 years. So I got 9 years in the league. After the league, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, what I wanted to be. Got into restaurant business a little bit. Kind of fell into the radio business, and I've been in radio business for 25 years now. First the Ron and Ian show, now Beckles and Retcher. So that's my love. Another love I have is cannabis, and I've become an advocate for cannabis to the point where, I think I'm the only, media member in the Tampa Bay area who brings up cannabis and tries to let people know that it's a plant here to help us. So I'm not scared of people's perception of me anymore, and that's definitely changed here in the last little while.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, isn't it? It feels like we're part of we're part of this group. It's like a group that inside it, we're all like, yeah, man, this plant, it's healing, it's helpful, it's good, it brings people together. But people outside that circle, they kind of sort of look at us a little bit sideways, don't they?
Well, I mean, I'm finding out that those people outside the circle are the ignorant ones, and I'm not trying to, generalize, but
Sure.
when somebody says something negative about cannabis, I start asking them some questions. I say, "Are you a drinker? Are you against pills?" If their answer is yes, 100%, then we'll keep on talking. But usually, it's just about being mad at a plant that they don't know anything about. For me, and so to me, it's about ignorance, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah. And when you say ignorance, it's just lacking of knowledge. And there has been a really powerful disinformation campaign against cannabis that's been going on for, man, probably like 100 years.
Well, I don't think it's ever going to stop because they're still going to have those that are, I guess, powered by big pharma. I mean, it still exists. Listen, as we speak right now, I'm in my podcast room, but my podcast room exists in my Kava and Kratom bar. Okay, I have a Kava and Kratom bar in Tampa, Florida. And listen, this is Kratom. It's a tea. Okay, I drink it in lieu of alcohol and pills, and it makes me feel good. And there's people trying to ban this too. Yet there's millions of people dying from pills, but nobody's really trying to jump over that. So we have our priorities. Our priorities aren't right at this point.
Yeah, yeah, and you as an athlete, and we've had some other athletes, on the podcast before. We just had Lofa Tatupu the other day. I got a chance to see you guys both in Tampa. It was a great panel. Can you just talk to the audience a little bit about kind of how athletes back when you were playing, how you dealt with pain and how, kind of the science, if you will, was compared to, how it's going today?
Well, I mean, how we dealt with pain was the way the doctors presented it to us. And that was with pills. A lot of it was anti-inflammatories. A lot of it was Vicodin. A lot of it was Percocets. A lot of stuff that's killing people every single day. I didn't smoke marijuana until I was 35 years old. I was around it since I was 12 years old, but for some reason, I was fearful of it growing up. And it wasn't of what the plant was doing. It's how it can kind of slow down my dreams, okay? Because you heard of athletes not make it because of marijuana. And still to this day, if somebody gets busted for marijuana, I still think they're dumb as hell, okay? Because
Yeah.
nothing is worth passing up millions of dollars, okay? Most of the leagues have come to a realization that it makes sense to let their athletes smoke marijuana. I've always
Hmm.
said instead of handing out pills, they should be handing out joints as everybody's leaving the complex. So instead of you going home and drinking alcohol, which is not
Yeah.
good for anything, it's not good for you athletically. There's no studies that say that marijuana is a detriment to you athletically, but nobody can tell me they're as good when they're hungover. So to
Yeah.
me, I stayed away from it, but it was only because I was being tested. If
Yeah.
I wasn't being tested, I would have been probably a better athlete, to be honest with you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I was in the military, and it was the same thing, right? I never smoked cannabis when I was in high school. Played football, ran around with that group. We thought it wasn't cool. Those were the stoners, and
Mhm.
we didn't want anything to do with that.
Yeah,
Once I got into the army, and then I was home for the weekend with my boys, and they were like, "Let's get Chuck stoned. This will be funny." And
exactly.
then I started smoking, and I had to deal with that same thing like that. I would come back and be worried about getting a piss test and
Mhm.
and my whole career kind of going up in smoke. I think it's cool, pun intended. I think it's cool that we have now the leagues have, most of them I think are not testing for it anymore. It's at least a good start.
Well, yes, and like you said, it's a start, but we still have a long way to go. I work for iHeart, and it's a
Uh-huh.
very big company. And if you come into our building here at the Dignitary Tea and Cobble House, we're very marijuana friendly. And I said
Hmm.
to my two bosses, I want you to come see what I have going on. And I brought them
Yeah.
to the building. I said, I'm selling Kava and Kratom. We have Delta 8 stuff here. I do marijuana podcasts. We may be smoking on the podcast. I have my medical marijuana card. Here it is. I'm not breaking any laws. I just want you guys to all come and see this. We have a consumption lounge outside. We're working on a consumption lounge inside. I want you guys to come and see it. I don't want you to be shocked. And
Yeah.
they looked at me and they go, do what you do. You're not doing anything illegal. And from that meeting, one of my bosses pulled me over and he said, hey, I want to talk to you a little bit. And he ended up getting his medical marijuana card. So we're,
Yeah.
we're, we're definitely taking big steps.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I always feel like too, like I talk to people and they say, I'm having a hard time sleeping, or people are saying, I've got this or that, and I'm not getting paid to advocate for it. I'm not like on the per se the cannabis payroll, but I'm like, hey, have you tried? They have some, they have certain edibles out there. They have CBD. There's
Mhm.
different cannabinoids that actually can help you and are better for you than some of the over the counter stuff. So it is like, I guess we're inspiring and informing a little bit and doing our part, in the media and as individuals in our circles. But I feel like we might see some kind of a tipping point, maybe, if this ever gets nationally, where it's at least descheduled. That would be a massive thing, because I think that a lot of people would maybe be more open, to cannabis and to, like you said, some of these different supplements that are available.
Well, I've definitely changed in the last 5 years, and I think our
Yeah.
world is changing around us to where, like, I would never even want to wear a shirt with a cannabis leaf on it because I didn't want to wait. I didn't like the way people were looking at me. Okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not wearing them today. I'm usually wearing Crocs with a marijuana leaf on it because I don't give a rat's ass. I don't give a rat's ass anymore because I'm not
Yeah.
breaking any rules. I'm certainly not hurting anybody. A year and a half ago, I was a drinker,
Yeah.
and I made bad decisions when I was a drinker, and I decided to stop drinking, go into kava, kratom, marijuana, and I make better decisions. I wake up, I'm a better person.
Hmm.
I'm not texting dumb things in the middle of the night. And you wake up and you feel refreshed, you're ready to go. And for people that have problems sleeping, and like my whole life, I thought I was drinking to go to sleep, not
Yeah.
knowing that alcohol was detrimental to your sleeping. And people that don't like to smoke marijuana, that's fine if it's not. But just take a little bit of RSO or take tinctures or something to get you to
Yeah.
sleep, and you might be shocked of how you react to those.
Yeah, and the fact that they just discovered the endocannabinoid system, 20, 30 years ago, it tells you that we are, we're still going to learn a lot, and there's a lot more. They couldn't even study cannabis because it was a Schedule 1, and so we're really behind on that. But I think that it's a cool thing to see people getting relief and not having the side effects that they might have had with what was available before. And, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a veteran of the Army. There's a real problem with veterans out there that are dealing with, certain issues. It could be PTSD, it could be anxiety, they could have sleep issues, pain,
Mm-hmm.
from lingering injuries. And the VA a lot of times gives them pills
Mm-hmm.
that one of the side effects is could cause suicide.
Yep.
And we have a problem with vets doing that. So imagine if the VA could offer, as an alternative to some of that stuff, cannabis. I just think you could help a lot of people and there'd be a lot less side effects.
Well, first of all, thank you for serving our country, and for what you say. There is a correlation and a link between football and veterans. There's a link there, and
one00%.
I'm not comparing them, because if you
Hmm.
listen to football and the language, it sounds a lot like the service,
Yeah.
and a lot of things you say can also pertain to football. Okay,
Hmm.
the PTSD, where we're going through a lot of the same things. Um, I my right here, I'm on the corner of Gandhi and West Shore, which is right next to the Air Force Base. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
I'm a mile from the Air Force Base, and we have a lot of veterans here, and they gotta go around all these loops to get marijuana. It doesn't make any sense, because the same veterans that can't get marijuana are going to the corner bar and are shit faced drunk. I'm just telling you, to a point
Yeah.
where if it was marijuana, they would be driving home. And I'm not condoning that you drive, but it's not the same thing. And
Yeah.
listen, when I was with alcohol, just
Hmm.
it affected me different than marijuana. I don't say never because I'm dumb, but I'm never making decisions that I don't know I'm making when I'm smoking marijuana. When you're drinking
Yeah.
alcohol, that's not the case. So to me, if you're against marijuana, then also be against alcohol, be against everything. And I don't, everybody has a vice, that is for sure.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, man. There's people out there like, I can't function till I have my coffee. You know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
don't talk to me till I have my coffee.
Right?
Yeah. So, by the way, just out of curiosity, I noticed some people were kind of giving some blowback to Tom Brady. You mentioned that connection between athletes and the military, and I really feel like there is. You're correct. There's almost like a mutual admiration,
Correct.
that goes across there. But you saw Brady made a comment about I look at when I go away with my team, that's kind of like being on deployment. And of course,
Mm,
on the internet, people are going to complain about everything. But I
yeah.
really think what he was trying to say was he's not trying to compare playing football with going and, possibly being in combat or something like that. But I think what he was talking about more is like, and I'd love to get your take, is just more
Mhm.
like, man, we train together, we sweat together, we wear the same uniform, we go on the same mission. There's a brotherhood, a camaraderie. You have to trust the guy to the left and the right of you, intrinsically. And I think he meant it more like that, and not like playing in the NFL is like being an Army Ranger.
Well, first of all, athletes are the only people in this country, and I guess entertainers, that have to put a microphone in their face all the darn time, and we have to hear about everything that they say. Okay,
Yeah.
so listen, Tom Brady is a respectful person. Okay, there's no way he doesn't respect the military. I've never heard anybody say I don't respect the military. So when somebody
Exactly.
says something that seems disrespectful to the military, my problem is, and it's like this in the rest of our country, a lot of somebody will say something that's towards black people, and it seems like white people are more mad than black people. To
Yeah.
me, I don't know if this would really offend people in the military. I don't know if it will, and you could speak otherwise, but I think when you said at the beginning that there is a correlation and
Hmm.
we kind of speak, we think alike, okay? That's
Yeah.
all he was trying to really say.
Yeah.
If he said it again, maybe he would twist a couple words here and there. But his intention,
Mm.
I'm almost 150% sure his intention wasn't to say playing football is the same as the military, because nobody would ever say that. That's an ignorant statement.
Yeah, 100%. And I think there's also the fact that, a lot of times in the military and, in sports, you're encouraged to play through pain, and finish that mission. I mean, you just saw on Monday night, that kicker out there with his,
Yeah.
with one leg. And they're like, look, man, you're our only kicker. We got to get
Mhm.
this win. We'll worry about your hamstring after. There is kind of that element of tough it out And I think that a lot of times what happens is, back to the alcohol thing, is you end up self-medicating. And so, whether you're an athlete or in your military, it just seems like that cannabis, even though there's so much stigma, is sometimes a better alternative. And I think that, I think Brady, what he said, maybe it came out a little bit clunky, but we're just in a gotcha society to where, man, anytime you see anything, people just can't wait to pounce. And, I think as a veteran myself, I give Brady a pass.
Well, once again, I'll listen to you before I listen to. I'm part of the media, and I hate the media. And a lot
Yeah.
of times, the media overreacts, and they make other people react a certain way. So I'm not trying to be part of that part of the media at all.
Yeah, I'm with you. So are you a proponent of? So are you basically Cali Sober?
Cali Sober? What does that mean?
Yeah, so that's kind of the new thing right now, is where people say, like, I don't drink, I don't do hard drugs or anything like that, but
Okay.
I smoke weed. And that
Well,
and that is kind of becoming sort of cool, I think,
mhm,
amongst a lot of, maybe that's a West Coast thing or something like
right.
that, but that's kind of becoming a thing. And I think that would probably be cool if you could go to a club and, instead of maybe getting a gin and tonic, you could get
Mhm,
a THC drink, or, like you said,
mhm,
a kratom drink, or
mhm.
something like that. You think that might be something that we see sometime soon?
Well, I mean, that's what I created here, and Cali Sober makes sense after you explain it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Now, yes, I am Cali Sober. To me, I'm about anything that grows from the ground. Okay,
Hmm.
I do experiment a little bit with mushrooms. I have read up quite a bit on mushrooms and what it can do to your brain waves and different things, and I just experimented a little bit. Definitely curious a little bit more. I know that Aaron Rodgers has been getting a lot of crap about ayahuasca, but I'm curious. I've not
Yeah,
indulged in it, but I'm definitely curious about it. But to me, I'm all about plants and plants over pills. Okay, and
yeah,
a kava bar. I don't know if you've ever had kava before or kratom. That's what a kava bar is. I grew up
yeah,
in bars my whole life and didn't really even understand why I was going to the bar. And it wasn't
yeah,
really the alcohol; it was really just the camaraderie and hang out with like-minded people. And a
yeah,
kava bar is that. You sit down. If you walk in, it looks just like a bar. We just
yeah,
don't serve alcohol. We serve kava, which is from the root of a pepper plant, and kratom, which is a botanical tea. But they both have benefits physically, mentally, but you don't get drunk, you're not impaired. And when
yeah,
everything becomes recreational and everybody's like, oh, we can have recreational at bars. Good luck with that. Good luck with weed and alcohol together. That will implode immediately. Weed and kava and kratom are a perfect match. I mean, match made in heaven.
yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, and I think that the alcohol will be segregated. You probably won't be able to just walk into a bar and get a gin and tonic or a THC beer, but definitely the social aspect, I think, is important. Because people do want to be able to go out, and if you want to go out, you want to be able to hang out with your friends, you want to have a good time, but maybe you don't want to drink.
Right.
It's nice to have some options and some other things out there. So, what do you think about you're down there in Florida? You guys have medical. Do you think that adult use will be coming down the pike soon? Do you think Florida's geared up for that?
Well, I was hitting up my Instagram today, and there was a couple of different feeds talking about. I guess Circle K just said they're going to be selling marijuana out of Circle K's in 2023. So they
Wow.
may have, and it said Florida, so they may have a little inside information on this state becoming recreational. I've had people, like, I've talked to just about everybody on the inside. People are saying 2025. I've heard 2023, but it's on the horizon. So um, I'm trying to get ready before, because
Yeah.
I'm doing the consumption lounge and stuff before it goes recreational. And once it goes recreational, that's too late.
Yeah, you're pretty much a pioneer, like, right? I mean, where you're doing what you're doing right now, in Tampa. Like, I'm in Denver, Colorado, and
Yeah,
here, man, we got dispensaries everywhere, and there's
yeah.
consumption lounges and stuff like that. But in Florida, a little bit different, and you
Mhm.
you truly are kind of a pioneer and an innovator by bringing this and making this an option for the people out there. I tip my cap to you, man. That's some innovative stuff right there.
Well, I mean, I'm intelligent enough to link myself up with people who knows what the hell they're doing. And when I talk to people in the industry, I don't ask where are we. I ask where's it going. So
Yeah,
I like to ask you what's going on in Denver, And what
Yeah.
you tell me, that's where we're going. Okay. So I asked people where we're going, and everything was about getting a medical marijuana card. And we have a
Hmm.
cannabis doc right in our building. I'm looking right across from his office right there. So you can get your medical marijuana card in our building. Now we have a
Yeah.
consumption lounge outside, and we're creating one inside. Now the thing is, somebody says, well, is it legal to have a consumption lounge inside? And my answer is, well, if five people are inside smoking marijuana and the cops come in and we all have our medical marijuana card, what exactly are they going to be arresting us for? So
Yeah.
it's a technicality, but I'm going to be the first one. You know what? If I get arrested for smoking marijuana in my building, it might be the best thing ever happened to my business.
Yeah, it definitely would. And you're right. Once you kind of open that, they've opened that Pandora's box,
Mhm.
like we've got an in. And if it's medicine, man, you can't mess with people's medicine. And
Right.
that's, I think, the best chance we have of getting this across the country. And I've talked to a lot of people on this podcast is they think the medical route, first is making this to where it's descheduled so that it can be used as medicine. That it's undeniable that there are medical benefits, cannabis, CBD. If you've ever seen a video of a little kid, having seizures or something, and they give him a
Mhm.
few drops of that cannabis oil and they stop, it doesn't matter if you're left, right, center, you know what I mean? It's undeniable that there's medical benefits. So, hopefully that opens the door. And then, maybe the states will decide, if they want to have the adult or whatever. But it just seems inevitable, that this is the way and that we've been kind of holding back something that can help people for a really long time.
Well, I mean, we call ourselves the land of opportunity and all this different stuff. And like,
Hmm.
there's people whose kids needed marijuana and they had to drive over state lines and take a
Yeah.
chance of getting arrested to give their kid a plant. Okay, so to me, the whole thing it sounds backwards. I had a good
Yeah.
friend of mine whose mother had cancer, going through chemotherapy, and she was crying. She was eating her. She's dying. I'm watching her take these pills. The pills are eating her up. She can't go to the bathroom. She can't do this. She doesn't have any appetite. And I said, "Here, give her some of these." And I just gave her some. I had some edibles from Curaleaf. I go, "Give her one of these and see what happens." She came back crying again for different reasons. She goes, she changed. And I said, well, what happened? She took one of those edibles and everything was okay. And I was just thinking to myself, like, I'm not a doctor and I probably was wrong for giving her that. But what a darn shame that I have to go through that. And they're giving
Yeah.
her stuff that we know kills you. It
Yeah.
kills people every single day. And there's mills and all these things, and there's dispensaries starting to pop up everywhere here, and I'm
Hmm.
happy. I'm happy, but we're not nearly where we need to be.
Yeah. And what I've noticed too is, a lot of the nurses and doctors, which, first of all, hats off to them because they've got a super important job. And we just went through a pandemic. And, I respect the hell out of those people. And, that they're super important. But there's a lot of them that don't know anything
Right.
about cannabis,
Mhm.
and I don't know if that's, gonna start becoming part of their curriculum, or something like that. But if more nurses and doctors were aware of cannabis and the benefits, they might be able to get people off some of those other drugs like you're talking about with the side effects. But honestly, they don't teach them about that. They don't learn about that in medical school. They don't learn about it in their colleges, and that's something that definitely has to change.
I've heard some of the younger doctors are suggesting cannabis, but you have to
Mm,
understand a lot of these old fuddy duddy 70-year-old doctors, they were in medical school 50 years ago. They were
yeah.
watching Reefer Madness. They thought Reefer Madness was real. You know what I mean? 50 years ago. So they
Yeah.
can't possibly push anybody towards cannabis. But
Hmm.
the hypocrisy over the whole thing is, man, I don't know a doctor that doesn't smoke weed. I don't know a nurse that doesn't smoke weed.
Yeah.
I don't know a lawyer or a judge that doesn't smoke weed, and they've been putting people in jail for smoking weed forever. So it's enough. Okay, it's enough. And I know Biden did a couple things to help out, but it's not enough, and it's not quick enough for me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because that was, I guess, obviously very small gesture. But it, I think, is the first time that a US president ever said anything positive, on the record about cannabis. In fact, here at Cannabis and Tech today, Bill Clinton was speaking at a school last year, and he said that CBD is good and helps a lot of people with a lot of things. And we had someone there. We ran that story. We were like, "Holy crap! This is the first time a president has said, this on the record." And all of a sudden, there people were like, "You got to take that down. That was closed to the media and everything." And the internet remembers forever, so we took it down. It didn't matter. But that was a big deal that a sitting president, even though it was a long time coming, I thought that it was at least some words and some dialogue we had never heard before that hopefully is just the start, and hopefully it is going to get people out of jail, and it is going to lead to some type of descheduling so that, so that we can make this accessible.
Well, God forbid a president tells the truth. You know what I mean? They should have shut him down immediately. And listen, Kamala Harris is a proponent, but
Yeah.
we have to understand we still live in America. She's still
Yeah.
she's still a black woman. They're
Mm-hmm.
not going to allow a black woman to change too much. All right. So
Yeah.
Obama, the first black president, he wasn't the right person to do it either. So
Yeah.
let me tell you something about politics, okay?
Yeah.
I hate them all. I hate all
Yeah.
of them. I don't believe any of them. I don't even believe in politics. But I think
Yeah.
it took Joe Biden some nuts to actually step forward and say something that everybody should have been saying forever. And God forbid you say CBD is good for you. What I
Yeah.
mean, what's the other end of the argument? I'm not quite sure. Wow, right?
It's just, yeah, you're right, man. It's a lot of powerful forces. And, anytime there's change that's going to disrupt an industry, man, they're going to fight like hell to keep that from happening. And I think that they'll fight like hell until eventually they jump in, and they realize they can make money off it, because we're probably not too far away from big pharma, big tobacco, even big beverage is moving into this space and preparing to get ready because they can scale, and they can come in and they can lose a ton of money in the beginning to grab that market share, where a lot of the smaller operators and stuff, they don't have the deep pockets.
Well, on our show, Beckles and Retcher, Jay Retcher is in his
Mm-hmm.
30s, and anytime he asks me a question, why, before he finish the question, I usually say money. And
Yeah.
that's always the answer, okay?
Yeah.
And you're asking why you don't want to hear that CBD works. You know why? Money. Because
Yeah.
if people figure out that CBD can help you out, Big Pharma will lose trillions of dollars. I mean, the
Yeah.
number is astronomical. So they don't want that out there. And they still
Yeah.
don't want that out there because they're still gouging us for millions and trillions of dollars. I had an appointment the other day with a neurologist for the NFL. Okay. And at the end of the appointment, he goes, "Man, you're pretty smart." I go, "Thank you." He goes, "You clearly don't have CTE." And I go, "No, I know that. But I have to do this I'm supposed to do this, right?" You know what he
Yeah.
does at the end of the whole thing? He goes, "Do you want a prescription for Adderall?" And I go, "Why?" He goes, "Do you want it?" And I just, it blows my mind. Like,
Yeah.
that's gotta stop. Forget about somebody smoking a plant and making
Yeah.
themselves feel good before they go. That's gotta stop. Those are the thieves and the burglars. Those are the ones that are screwing the rest of the country, and they're also the ones living on the top of the hill in the biggest houses as well.
1,000%. And by the way, when you talk about money, I've done some work with Redman and the United Empowerment Party, and we're trying to make it so that we can support candidates that are pro cannabis, whether they're left or right or whatever, and trying to do it. And one of the things that we found out by talking to politicians and people that have served in the Senate and things like that is that, listen, it's all about money, because you can have people that are with you on a bill and you go and say to those guys, "Hey, listen, man, I can count on your vote for this," right? Like, you believe it. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Yep, I'm there. But then a lobbyist pulls them out. And the lobbyist says, "Hey, man, I'm going to cut your funds off. I'm going to tell people not to vote for you if you go for this." And even if it's a good thing, like cannabis, even if it's a good thing, like, anything that helps the people, if those lobbyists that put the money in the politicians' pockets say, "You cannot support this, you can't vote for it," they come back and they say, sorry, man, can't do it. Even
Mhm.
if it makes sense and it's common sense. And cannabis does not have the lobbyists in DC. They do not have the lobbyists that the alcohol industry does, the pharmaceutical industry, the gun industry. Those guys run so deep and they've got their hands in everybody's pockets that I really feel like even though cannabis pulls great and even though cannabis is good for the economy and it helps people and it gets people off that addictive stuff, it's until we've got the money behind it in DC, it's
Mhm.
going to be hard to get that, on anything other than a local level.
First of all, tell Redman I said what's up. I'm a huge fan of Redman. And
Oh,
let me
he's
let
the best,
everybody.
man. He's so real.
I love everything he's about. And let's get
Yeah.
back to the money part of it. Okay,
Uh-huh.
we live in the United States of America, and there's the American way. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm gonna explain the American way to you. I'm gonna explain the American way in my world.
Yeah.
I'm not pro gun. I'm not against guns. I think if you should have a gun if you want. There should be some regulations, no doubt about it. But I'm not pro or against anything. I'm really not.
Mhm.
If the NRA comes to me and say, Ian, here's 50 million, don't ever speak out against guns, that word won't come out of my mouth again. But I'll have $50 million in my bank account. That's the
Yeah.
American way. That's what happens. They're not proponents of it. They're just not speaking against it. So
Yeah.
that's what happens in politics, and you guys can call it what they want anymore, but politics is I don't even know. They need a different word for it because
Yeah, man.
it's fugazi.
It's as crooked as scoliosis, man.
Mhm.
Well,
There you go.
listen, Ian, it has been an absolute pleasure. I know you got to get out of here. You're a busy guy. Can you give the audience just a quick outro of where they can, maybe get a hold of you,
Mhm.
or how they can go check out the Dignity Kava House, and let them know how they can hear some more from you.
Well, I have a couple of podcasts. I have an In the Trenches podcast, which is about football. I have a cannabis podcast, which is called Plant Power Podcast. We talk about all the different plants and stuff like that. Actually, we're going to be talking about ayahuasca this week. If you come to Tampa, in the South Tampa area, we're at the Dignitary Tea and Kava House, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard, with the best creative and the best kava in town. We have a consumption lounge here if you like to indulge. And as far as social media, I do them all, but I'm really active on Instagram. It's Ian_Beckles. That's Beckles. Everybody knows how to spell Ian since the hurricane. And other than that, I'm just, chilling here in Tampa, Florida, and enjoying the beautiful weather. We're having a cold front. It's 70
Yeah.
degrees today. Can you believe it?
You got to bust out your sweaters and your winter jackets and your
Yeah,
Uggs. Like, it's crazy now.
it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, man.
It is, man. Well, Ian, thank you so much. And to everybody that's listening, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Cannabis Tech Talks. Ian Beckles, we really appreciate you. Polyscience, our title sponsor who makes this thing happen. By the way, if you're going to be at MJ Biz, make sure you check us out with Summit Research. We're going to be recording some podcasts there. That is at booth 2417. That's Polyscience and Summit Research. And don't forget to look for some golden tickets in the magazines. We're giving away prizes. And last but not least, make sure you follow us. It's Canatech Today on social media. We're on all the platforms, the Facey Space, everything like that. And if you like this episode of the podcast, hit the like button and make sure that you subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you next time on Cannabis Tech Talks. You've been chopping it up with Chuck. We'll check you later.
Hey, hello, I'm Tommy Chong from Cheech and Chong. Wait, you didn't think people would know who I am? Durachill. This is Durachill. This is Durachill. This is Durachill. No, I don't talk like that. You want me to sell this? Buy it. Try Durachill or else. If you want something really nice in your laboratory, buy Durachill. You can't go wrong.